Why can't we pay the interest? Why would we ever not pay the interest on our debt? Why? Because we're overdrawn and because all the rest of the spending is crowded out by the interest. We've got plenty of money to pay for the interest. We just don't have enough left to pay for the cocaine studies with Japanese quail. That's about $1 million. You say, that's only $1 million. Well, they studied Japanese quail to see whether or not Japanese quail on cocaine, to see if they're more sexually promiscuous. How did we get to a $30 trillion debt? Because there's studies like that littered throughout the budget. In fact, the group that does these studies, the National Science Foundation, we just increased their budget by 2/3. Mostly Democrats, but once again, many of the big government Republicans voted for this too. So we've exploded the National Science Foundation. Now, was there any warning that the National Science Foundation was one of the most wasteful parts of our government? Well, yeah, since 1972, there was a senator at the time named William Proxmire. He was a conservative or maverick Democrat from the Midwest, and he started an award. He called it the Golden Fleece Award. This same organization last year did a $1.5 million study that if you take a selfie of yourself while smiling and then look at the selfie later on, does it make you happy? That cost $1.5 million. Why do people like each other? Why do people fall in love? These aren't studies for taxpayer dollars, but these are small ticket items. They say, oh, you can never balance the budget on that. Well, what about $70 million spent on a hotel in Kabul that the contractor ran off with the money and it was never built? What about a $48 million gas station, no, strike that, natural gas station in a remote area of Afghanistan? Well, very few, if anybody in the United States has a car that runs on natural gas. Why was the U.S. government building a natural gas station in Afghanistan? Because we've gone woke on the green climate. We are for the green climate. We got to combat climate change and reduce the carbon footprint of Afghanistan. He said this is when we lost the Afghan war. And it had a picture of a urinal. I think it was Marcel Duchamp, was some Dadaist artist back in like 1917, and I guess he thought it would be really hilarious to put a male urinal in a museum and call it art. And I don't know if it was really art or if it was a joke, but the thing is we're having these Afghan men and women in robes and veils and everything studying Dadaist art, a male urinal, and asking them what they thought of this. And you could see a couple of women just going and just sort of shaking their head with utter incomprehension. But when we're spending money sending PhDs over to Afghanistan to teach Dadaist art about that a male urinal is somehow art, I think that's why some of them think that we're actually the culture that's in decay, not them. Reagan had an analogy he did, and he said that if you want to know how big a billion is, take $1,000 bills and put them in your hand. When you have them about 4 inches high, you've got $1 million. But if you want to know how much or how tall a stack of $1,000 would be if you had $1 trillion, it'd be 60 miles high, over 60 miles high. The last year we've been saying, well, oh gosh, we feel sorry for workers, so we're going to pay them while they're unemployed. But guess what? If you pay them more than the market wage, more of them will choose unemployment, and more of them will choose unemployment, and more of them will stay unemployed for a longer period of time. We found this out in the 2008 recession. During the 2008 recession, we extended unemployment. It's normally 26 weeks, it's paid for by a tax, and it largely works within the confines of a state-run program. We extended it to 99 weeks, almost 2 years. But you know what the studies found? And this is part of the syndrome we have around here. It's sort of the big heart, small brain syndrome. I think many of these people want to help people. They just don't understand, but what they're doing is actually hurting the same people they're trying to help. So if you extend unemployment to 99 weeks, and then all of a sudden the guy at 99 weeks or a woman says, I need to get a job, and they go to the employer and they say, I've been out of work for 99 weeks, I've been on unemployment. And the other person applying for the job says, well, I've been out of work 10 weeks and I'm looking for a job. Who do you think the employer hires? Every time. It's a person out of work 10 weeks. The person out of 99 weeks, they're like, might be something wrong here. We might have gotten to the point where we've lost work ethic. So what have you done to that person that you tried to help? You've actually kept them out of the workplace so long that they become unemployable. After they become unemployable, what do they become? The permanently unemployable, the non-working part. You wonder who this is? 62% of the country is in the working force, 38% is not. These are people permanently out of the workforce. These aren't people who can't work. These are just people, for one reason or another, are no longer in the workforce. Now, some of them can be people who can't work, and we have sympathy for that. But many of them are people who just stayed out of work too long, or took the wrong incentives, or became addicted to drugs or alcohol because they weren't working.